Come along with me as I take you on a winter bike ride around the Seawall of Stanley Park here in Vancouver, British Columbia, as captured on my GoPro Hero 4 Silver Edition. So here we are at the entrance to the park, and on the right hand side you'll see that there is a beautiful marina. Along the seawall here, it's divided into two separate parts, one for people to walk and the other for cyclists, rollerbladers, and people that want to bring along their skateboards. Because the GoPro actually doesn't have a built-in stabilization software, I decided to test a program called proAdrenalin, which I randomly found on the internet. But after doing some research, I decided, you know what, I will give this program a try. I tried originally I had given VirtualDub given it a chance but whatnot. But I found that this program better suited my needs. So let me know what you guys think of the end result, and if you have any recommendations or if you have a software program that works better for you, let me know so I can try it out as well. This part of the seawall has a beautiful view of the city skyline, and it's even that much more breathtaking at nighttime when the park is dark and all the lights of the city are lit up. So if you get a chance, go for hop into a car, go for a drive later on in the evening, and take a look at the city skyline. You'll notice a huge difference between daytime and nighttime view of the city. It's hard to believe that this is actually winter in Canada, and I will say that this is quite deceiving because Vancouver is an anomaly when it comes to the rest of Canada, because there they are under blankets of snow, minus 30 degrees Celsius conditions. But Vancouver itself is just, the climate is really different, because in the summer it doesn't get really hot, like super hot. In the winter, it doesn't get really cold either. It's a very moderate climate. So what you end up getting is people be out and about basically all year round, because the weather is quite stable. It's quite moderate. What you're seeing in front of you is Cole Harbour and parts of the downtown. And in the winter months, it does rain quite a bit here in Vancouver, but on the sunny days, watch out, because people will come out in full force from all parts of the lower mainland. The park is open 24/7, so if you live in the West End, Cole Harbour, downtown, basically you have this resource at your fingertips. Or if you're like one of us who like to come in and enjoy the park on sunny days like this, all is welcome. The seawall is about 9 kilometers in length, and so if you're looking to go for a walk, to go for a jog, this is a perfect place to do it. You can also go and grab a book, find a bench, sit down, and enjoy a little bit of reading. Now, on the other side of the seawall, it does have access to the ocean. So I mean, you can sit down, people watch. You can watch the ships go by. The bridge on the right leads to what's called Dead Man's Island, and here you'll find that there is a naval reserve unit called HMCS Discovery. This part of the island, this part of the path is actually closed off to the general public, but it doesn't prevent you from having a sneak peek at the establishment. As we approach this part of the seawall, it's quite popular with visitors, because that's where the totem poles are located. So they are on the left-hand side of this path, and there's a parking spot. So if you're driving in, you can just park and bring the family to enjoy the totem poles. You'll also find that there's horse-drawn rides that are available, and one of the stops is right here. So quite often, especially during the summer, it gets pretty busy and people are walking back and forth along this path. But totem poles are located just right there, and on the right hand side is again more view of the city skyline. Throughout the park, you'll find lots of monuments and statues all along the seawall. Up here, up and coming, is a statue of this guy running. I'm not sure what the official name of it is, but let's just call it the Running Man. And as we get closer, you'll find that there's a 9 o'clock gun that's located just up here. What happens is at 9 o'clock in the evening, the gun will shoot, and if you are able to get on, oh, there it is. There is the 9 o'clock gun. If you're able to get on one of those boat rides, and the boat goes right in front of it, you'll get a really good view of the smoke that comes out of the gun at 9 o'clock when it goes off. This part of the seawall is pretty nice to watch cruise ships come and go, as well as the seaplanes, to watch them take off and land. I find that here it's a great place to snap some pictures of all the activities that go on in the harbor. This spot in front of you is Brockton Point, and it also has a little lighthouse in front of it. Across the harbor, you'll find that that's where North Van and the West Van are located, and also they're connected by a bridge called the Lionsgate Bridge, which you can kind of make it out in the distance, but the seawall actually travels along and gets close to Lionsgate Bridge. In front of you, you'll find that this part right here is one of my favorites because it's quite serene, it's quite breathtaking, and I don't know, I just find this spot a great place to sit and enjoy the ocean. The seawall is pretty flat, but this part right here actually is a little bit of a downward slope, and it's a great place to get that ocean breeze on your face as you accelerate down. So if you're looking for that little rush, little speed right there, it's a great place to just go, 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 and just accelerate. This spot runs along the other side where the totem poles are located, and if you're looking for a little shortcut from one side of the seawall to the other, there's a little pathway that leads through the park to this side. Quite often this summer, on the left-hand side, you'll find that open field, there's lots of families having picnics and playing sports in that area. So if you're looking for a place to basically settle down for the day, that's a great place to park the family and let them enjoy the park. On the right-hand side, you'll find that it does have a good view of the bridge, and as we get closer, you're going to be able to actually see underneath the bridge itself. So come along and enjoy this stretch of the seawall, and as we make our way closer to the Lionsgate Bridge. The one thing I do like about this part of the seawall is the fact that the part where people walk is actually there's a big separation between that and the park where people ride their bikes. So sometimes when the two are closer, you'll find people start to kind of walk back and forth, which can interrupt or can get a little dangerous, especially if they're not looking, because they'll be busy snapping pictures or doing something, and they might not be paying attention to the people riding the bikes. But here, it's a clear separation between the bike path part and the part where people walk. So I enjoy cycling in this part because you can just ride uninterrupted by people just walking back and forth. I mentioned earlier that the seawall is quite relatively flat, and so if you are a rollerblader or if you want to go along with your skateboard, it's a great place to kind of just enjoy the experience and skate till your heart's content. As we approach this part, you're going to find that you'll have to dismount. This part is for little kids to play around with. They've got sprinkler systems, they've got little kids dryer systems, a little bathroom. So if you're looking for a little bathroom break, this is a perfect spot to do it. There's a lot of area in this little spot, so there's lots of room to navigate, and so that way you don't end up running someone over. Okay, so as we leave this little pit stop and bathroom break, you're going to get the option to either go back to the main road, or you can continue along with the bike ride along the seawall and make your way towards the Lion Skate Bridge. For those of you that haven't been on the Lionsgate Bridge or don't know of it, it's famous in movies like Tron, where at the end of the scene, at the end of the movie, where the girl is sitting on the back of the motorcycle and they're making their way across the bridge. That's the Lionsgate Bridge. It's also, you also see in many of the movies that, or many of the television shows that are produced in Vancouver. So in the distance, you'll see that is the Lionsgate Bridge. So that's where it's at. As we make our way along the seawall, you're going to find that the air starts to get cooler, and that's because we're making our way to the west side of the seawall and getting more exposure from the fact that this harbor is opening up to the Pacific Ocean. So you're going to get that breeze from the ocean because it just starts to blow through this area. Plus, I find this area to be a little bit more, it has a little more shade, and so it just tends to be a little cooler than the other parts of the seawall. So whether you bike, ride, or drive your vehicle, there's a path for each type of movement. So up on the left-hand side, that's where the vehicles are driving along, and where I'm at is the bike path, and right beside me is are people walking. So it all takes you along the seawall. The people that you find along this part of the seawall tend to be the ones that have made a decision that they're going to basically walk around or make their way around the whole seawall. So I find this part, it tends to be not as densely populated as the other parts are, because sometimes people just want to run a little distance and then they'll turn around and run back in either direction. So on the east side, on the west side of the seawall. But here, this is kind of like in the middle. So for those people haven't that don't want to go all the way around, they would have already turned back along the seawall. So those that you see here are, like I said, are the ones that are going the whole distance. Across this body of water, you'll find that that's where North Vancouver is located, and there's also an urban native reserve located there as well. So, if you're coming from the prairies, where you're used to a reserve being its own huge plot of land, basically, with many small little towns around it, here they make up part of the greater Vancouver area. So, it's nice to see that they make up a diverse part of the population here. Stanley Park is about 1,000 acres in size, and it borders the downtown. So it's separated by that bridge to North Van and West Van. And on one side you've got the harbor, on the other side you've got English Bay. And here is a little stretch of waterway that the wind blows through, the cruises and whatnot, the cruise ships have to go through in order to make their way out into the open ocean. I find that the seawall along this part starts to get narrow. The bike path starts to get narrow, and it's also the more interesting part of the seawall because earlier on you're dealing with open space, you've got a lot more space to play around with, but here you've got more steep slopes and less real estate basically for the seawall to run along. So sometimes you'll have to dismount. Sometimes the path gets really small, so you can't pass people until you get to an open space, or it gets really narrow. Here you'll have to dismount because you are basically have to share the spot with people walking back and forth. So it gets really, really narrow in this spot. But it's a great spot to kind of take a look at the underbelly of the bridge. This is also known as Prospect Point, and it has a lighthouse as well. So on your left-hand side that we just parked is it's a little lighthouse. This is when we start to make our way to the western side of the park, and the seawall will run along it as well. But you start to be able to see some of the open sea or the open waters of the ocean. You're going to be able to also see the boats that are parked way out in the ocean there. Basically, the big what are they called? Those big ships that cargo ships that basically dock or they're just um, parked out there, and they've anchored out in the ocean, and it's nice to see because sometimes you'll be able to see 6, 7, 8 of them out there. I think you can kind of make out one in the distance right there. Riding your bike around along this part of the seawall is quite interesting, and I don't know if you can make it out because it's pretty dark, but there's the rock formation and the trees and plant life and vegetation is quite different from what you see on the other side. Here it's a little wetter, it's a little cooler. This side is a little breezier than the other side of the park. But again, this is also my part of my one of my favorite parts of the seawall all along this whole stretch, especially as you get to the side where the sun starts to come up and shine through and whatnot. So, um, good thing my GoPro was I was playing around with my GoPro, and I had set it on a setting where it will capture the video, but also snap pictures every 5 seconds. So I didn't have to worry about taking pictures. It was just snapping automatically. So I actually ended up getting some really good pictures um, as I was riding through. And one of them was actually this part right here where I got the silhouettes of the bike riders riding through right into the open, right into basically the sun. There's something to be said about the sun shining against the rock cliffs, and you've got the ocean in the background. It's just you feel like you're one with nature, especially here on this side of the seawall. It just seems so. What's the word for it? It just seems so raw. Like it's just the air is clean. It just seems like you're you don't have the city skyline to interrupt this scenery. You're looking at the ocean. You're looking out there. It's just when you look back, you can't really see the cities. So this part just is really an escape away from city life. This part of the seawall is my favorite part of the whole thing, and what you get is it's really nice. I mentioned earlier, you got the sun, you've got the rocks, you've got the plant life, you've got the ocean, and out in the distance, I'm not sure if you can make it out, but there's a little rock that's juts out from the side of um, the seawall, and you've got like a little tree that just is growing on top of it. You can kind of see it there, but we'll get closer to it, and it's really a really magnificent sight to see because it's just a lone tree standing on top of this rock formation. So there's the tree that I love so much. It's a breathtaking view. So you'll find that a lot of people like to sit down and enjoy this particular spot, the scenery. But going along the seawall, the path does get a little narrow, and at some points or some parts, you barely have room to kind of even navigate. So you gotta be careful when you're going through this spot that you don't accidentally uh, elbow somebody that's walking. So just make sure that you keep your elbows to yourself and to your body when you're going around this area because it does get really narrow. I think that rock that we passed is called Seawash Rock, but I'm not sure. I actually don't know the name of it. It's just really nice to look at. But as we get moving along this part of the seawall, we start to approach the third beach. So somewhere up there is another beach. Now, Stanley Park itself has a second beach. It's got a third beach. But Second Beach has a big pool basically attached to it where you can go swimming, and it's really, really nice. But we'll get to see that later on. Here, we're just making our way to Third Beach. You'll find that, especially at nighttime, people like to enjoy the sunset, and they'll sit and basically just lounge around Third Beach. So this is a great spot. So this is Third Beach. I have seen people have little bonfires here, especially late at night. I don't know if that's legal or allowed in the park, but I have seen little small bonfires as people like to sit here and to enjoy the sunset. This area, we start to make our way towards Ferguson Point, and you'll have to dismount later on up there, just because there's like a little restaurant that you start everything starts to get closer together. So people are making their way up from the top down below. So you'll have to dismount, and there's a little spot where you can park your bike and whatnot, and go and enjoy some food to eat, or just make your way down to the beach and enjoy the beach a little bit. As we get beyond the Ferguson Point, I find this spot between that and Second Beach, it tends to be a little bit more populated, and I think this is where you get people that are coming as well as in both directions, and people that will turn around as well. So it just seems to me that this spot tends to be a little bit more populated than the other parts of the seawall, but it is really nice. And quite often when I'm at this part of the seawall, I just want to keep going and finish the rest of the bike ride because by then it would have already been a long bike ride just to get to this part. But it's still nice to look at, and as you can see in the background, there's a lot of ships that have anchored, and it's really neat because from here they don't look that big, but let me tell you, when you get closer, they are pretty big. You'll also start seeing more and more people sitting on benches along this side, and that's because there's more sunlight over here, and people just like to sit and enjoy the sun, enjoy it's coming up, moving, setting, enjoy the ships, enjoy people watching. So this is a great place to make your way over and just basically park yourself. I also found that because the path was narrow along this part, sometimes it was hard to pass people. So I was behind this guy in blue for a while. I mean, I guess I could have uh, zipped right past him, but I didn't want to make him fall off the path accidentally because the path does get narrow in some parts. So I just kind of was waiting to kind of get my opportunity to pass this person safely. As we get closer and closer to Second Beach, you're going to be able to see more of the other side of the city where UBC is located, and the western parts of Catalano and an English Bay, especially right when you get to Second Beach. This is where you'll also find a lot of people are at when there's fireworks going on, and the whole beach just gets this beach, the other beach, this whole area just gets populated with people coming down for, let's say, the celebration of or the festival of lights, or the fireworks festival. I, I might have gotten the name wrong, but anyways, there's like tons of people that make their way down, and they start basically just filling up all parts of the seawall so they can watch the shows. I found that this part of the seawall, quite often I was able to find or see little sculptures that people have done with rocks, and on the right hand side, just because I don't know if because there's just more rocks available there or more variations of different rocks, but sometimes people would do little statues and little figures and whatnot in the down below, and you also see people. Going back and forth with their pets as well, so with their dogs on this part of the seawall. Now here we're starting to approach the second beach pool, and this is a great pool, especially in the summer. It does get busy, especially in hot, sunny days in the summer. But it's great if you want to enjoy the open space, the open sea, but you're actually not in the ocean. You're just parked along the ocean, I guess. It's built along the ocean, and it's built along Second Beach. So the kids can be playing out there, and you can go and enjoy the pool for the day. The park area of Second Beach is great for families that want to have picnics, or if you want to play some sports, some games. Because now, as once we got past the Point between Prospect Point and Third Beach, it opens back up to open fields where families can do sports. And here in the summer, especially throughout the summer, you're going to find that they have free movies playing for families. So this whole area gets filled up with people. They'll come for the late night movies. They'll bring the blankets. They'll bring the kids. They'll bring food, and sometimes there's food vehicles parked in the back, so you can get some munchies and whatnot. But this whole field gets covered with people in the summer sometimes for the open night movies. This is another spot I find that you will encounter a lot of breeze from the ocean because there's nothing blocking the wind from blowing in, and it's great to enjoy that fresh air. But also signals the end to the seawall, because as we make our way further and further, we start getting right into the west end. So this spot right here, even though it's really breathtaking, it's also close to the end of the seawall. On the left hand side, you'll find that they've got the tennis courts where you can play. So there's some free tennis courts open to the public, and there's also some courts that belong to the tennis club there. But here, people play tennis. They can play all year round if we really wanted to. So this is where we start exiting the park and making our way back to English Bay and to the west end. So you start getting more into the residential parts, and you'll start seeing more and more apartment buildings start to pop up. So I hope you enjoyed my video of my winter bike ride around Stanley Park Seawall. I was trying to explain some of the features along the way, and hopefully I succeeded in some of that. Let me know what you think of the video and how stable the it was, because again, I mentioned that I had used proAdrenalin to stabilize the raw footage of the video that was taken from my GoPro Silver Edition.